Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about today, and it's Martin Luther King Day, and a hero, for the world. Obviously, an American hero, and it's really interesting. Dr. Martin Luther King, really quickly before we get to President Trump and before we get to President Trump and Nancy Pelosi, Dr. Martin Luther King wrote Beyond Viet. He had a speech, and it was the Beyond Vietnam speech, and it talked about never-ending quagmires, bringing home Americans, beyond Vietnam. On April 4th, 1967, Martin Luther King delivered his seminal speech at Riverside Church condemning the Vietnam War. Declaring my conscience leaves me no choice, King described the war's deleterious effects on both America's poor and the Vietnamese peasants and insisted that it was morally imperative for the United States to take radical steps to halt the war through nonviolent means. Okay. Who is which political party opposes President Trump bringing home Americans from never-ending conflict? That, by the way, are exponentially greater in dollar amount every month and every year than what he's asking for a wall. So when the Beyond Vietnam speech is something overlooked by most Democrats. Because what it does is it undermines and it refutes the interventionist neoconservative foreign policy of Max Boot and Bill Kristol and Hillary Clinton especially, and of people who want to keep Americans abroad forever. So I'll get to the Beyond Vietnam speech a little later, but that is overlooked by so many people, especially on the left. There's only one person saying we're going to bring Americans home, we're going to bring the troops home. That's President Trump. President Trump is saying that. So, to my super chat, thank you so very much. You give me every incentive to rock these live streams. Eric H526, thank you. Aloha and everyone, have a great week. Love you, miss you. Thank you so very much. HA, thank you. Hello, Eric H526, we love you and thank you. Thank you. Luke St. Martin, thank you as well. Eric H526, thank you. So that's something that is completely overlooked. You have only one. I mean, the closest thing to anti-war is President Trump in this country, not Hillary Clinton or Pelosi, or even progressive pundits who say, well, vote for Democrats no matter what. You know the people who vote for Jill Stein, but in swing states, definitely vote for Hillary Clinton. Or the people who were like, yeah, Bernie's so great and Trump is so horrible, but vote for any Democrat, even if Bernie Sanders is cheated yet again. But I digress. Sam, thank you. President Trump he's offered a pathway to citizenship for dreamers. Trump says he is open to a path to citizenship for dreamers. This was the beginning of last year. Then they say, well, the Senate rejected it. The Republican Senate rejected it. And they don't explain why. Or that Trump rejected it and they don't explain why. So they offered $25 billion. Senate Democrats a while back offered $25 billion for funding. Okay, number one, I'm not sure if that's exactly the cost. It's probably going to be more than that. But anyway, what they did was, so Senate rejects DACA bill, $25 billion for wall. Why? Well, Instead, Democratic leaders rallied behind a bipartisan plan that would also give 1.8 million Dreamers a chance for citizenship. Well, it's not entirely bipartisan, but while it would provide the $25 billion Trump wanted for his wall, this is the part that is overlooked. It would dole it out over 10 years and lack most of the limits Trump is seeking on legal immigration. So they didn't really negotiate in good faith. They don't say, well, we'll pay for our interventions overseas in 10 years. They say, no, we're allocating that money for next year. Oh, no. Oh, no. We're allocating the money for next year for all the different countries that, if I state the countries, sometimes YouTube policies hits the algorithm. So you know which countries that President Trump wants to bring home Americans from. And it's interesting. The left is like gun control at home, but definitely no gun control abroad. Speaking of, my Second Amendment channel, definitely check out my latest Second Amendment channel upload. It's with a .44 Magnum Ruger Super Red Hawk, and I do really well. It's possibly the second best. You can't really see until minute 18:11. Click to minute 18:11, and like one person was like, "Oh, that's not a good grouping." I'm like, "Well, go to minute 18:11 because you can't really see. I guess the way the target was like moving, because when you anyway." You couldn't really see exactly because I didn't place the camera in the correct angle. But at the end, I take the camera and look directly at the target, and most are within a 6 to 7 inch grouping. Of the 50 rounds, I would say of a .44 Magnum at 20 feet away, and I shot it single action. Most, I would say, like 38, 37, or within the green center of the display. So I thought it was pretty good. But you let me know. 18:11. Click on minute 18:11. But President Trump has offered a pathway to citizenship. He is offering a pathway to citizenship right now. He knows very well that Pelosi is not going to accept his first proposal of just protections for DACA, but at least come to the table, at least negotiate. Like I've tried to say in my last segments, the Democratic Party has an obligation to people here, undocumented immigrants in the country, whom they expect to vote Democrat. It's funny. Democrats, they think that they're like people were born just to vote for their political party without doing anything for them. Like, it's not good enough to just, like oppose Trump or resist Trump. That's not good enough. You actually have to give some value or, achieve some political victories for your constituents. And they won't even do that. So this is the Wall Street Journal today, and it's so true. This is the Wall Street Journal, and it's very accurate. Thank you. Thank you, Sleep with One Eye Open. Thank you so much. This is Pelosi's Dreamer pawns. Democrats won't talk even after Trump offers extended legal status. Democrats rejected Donald Trump's compromise on immigration even before it was offered on Saturday. And that by itself should be instructive for the American public. Do Democrats want a deal to reopen the government and offer new security for more than 1 million immigrants? Or do they want to use them as pawns against Mr. Trump? Well, of course they want to use them as pawns. That's what Democrats do. This is the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. That's what Democrats do. They have no intention. Look, I am telling you, 100%. They have no intention of drafting Medicare for all legislation. And I've been right more often than I was wrong. I called the 2016 election in 2015. Yeah, I was wrong about the House because I didn't think that voters were stupid enough to believe Democrats. I couldn't imagine that people would be gullible enough to believe overt liars. They have zero intention. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez spends 90% of most days on social media, going back and forth. Oh, you can't, you know what? Oh, yeah. And then retweets. But where's how much of the day is allocated to drafting Medicare for all legislation? I don't even think it's feasible. Other people do. Fine. But I mean, I have a great deal of respect for Humanist Report and Kyle Kulinski at Secular Talk. They're really wonderful, wonderful, amazing people. Have you ever asked them when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or any member of a democratically controlled House is going to draft and then pass legislation covering 320 million Americans under Medicare for all or single payer? How about because it's never going to happen? And that's why Humanist won't debate me, but he'll try to call me out. And Kulinski will never debate me in a million years because I have too much knowledge of the Young Turks. And Cenk Uygur will never really debate anyone on this topic. They know very well Democrats will not go into 2020 with exponential increases in personal and corporate income tax. They know that. The Democratic Party utilized Medicare for all to deceive voters, to get voters passionate into voting for them. And then they're just going to, they might pass some healthcare legislation, but it will not be the Mercatus study, double to triple tax collection. It certainly won't, even if that's not accurate, it won't be single payer covering 320 plus million Americans. And it won't be all the, oh, you better, this is moral and other countries have this. Yeah, they don't have 320 million people. And they don't have a Democratic Party that cheated Bernie Sanders and that runs on Medicare for all and doesn't even it's going in. We're going into February now. They're not doing anything, absolutely anything. They're not even talking about single payer. They're talking about Russia and they're talking about, which gets us to, they're not even talking about citizenship. Do you think, forget about single payer now. We know they're never going to implement that. That was an empty promise, like all their empty promises after they cheat Bernie Sanders. But why aren't they, as a political party, why aren't they negotiating for citizenship? I have friends who are dreamers. Okay? I have friends who are dreamers, and they say, I hope Trump can help us. They don't say, I hope Pelosi can help us. Pelosi won't even negotiate for citizenship for 2 million dreamers, 1 million people. They won't negotiate. This is, so you have Medicare for all, which was a promise only to gain votes. You are talking about a political party that cheated Bernie Sanders, that defrauded its voters of $200 million, and then blamed Russia. Hello? Now you're talking a political party that says, oh, well, Trump is immoral, a wall is immoral, a fence is okay, but we will not negotiate for citizenship. The goal is, conservatives say amnesty. The goal is citizenship for Democratic constituents. What do you think dreamers want more than anything else? Do you think they care about a wall? That is a Democratic Party, another a way for them to pontificate. You think undocumented immigrants who are already in the U.S. care about a wall? They're already in the U.S. They're already in the United States. They want citizenship, a path to citizenship, so they can live their lives. And especially a dreamer, they were either here after like 1 year, 2 years old, or 5 years old, or 10 years old, or whatever. Their memories, they're as American as apple pie. They deserve a path to citizenship, in my view. But they also deserve a political party that actually works for them. Democrats are not working for any of their constituents. And then they say, oh my God, there's 800,000 government employees. So go to the negotiating table. If you're a Democrat and you're utilizing that, they don't get it. They don't see any hypocrisy. They don't understand the hypocrisy. They don't understand the hypocrisy. They don't get it. They have no concept of hypocrisy because they're used to attaining power. That's it. They want political influence. That's it. That's all they care about. That is all they care about. Exactly. Ram Lafari. Exactly. They only care about their image. And that's all they care about. And there's this bubble, this public relations. You have the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, Hollywood. And look at all the wonderful people. Look at all the wonderful things that take place. BuzzFeed publishes a bogus report that literally Mueller says that's inaccurate. And still they're like, well, what part of it is inaccurate? How about the claim that you made that BuzzFeed said Trump told Michael Cohen to lie? How about that claim? BuzzFeed told Michael Cohen to lie. I mean, BuzzFeed said that Trump told Michael Cohen to lie, to commit perjury. Never happened. Never happened. Never happened. It never happened. How do I know? Because Mueller came out and said that's inaccurate. When you make a claim and then someone says that's not accurate, that really means, that it's not accurate. That what you said is not true. Then you have the issue of Democrats claiming, oh, well, well, we'll go on forever. We can go on forever with their duplicity. But this is an interesting Wall Street Journal article. So it goes on. On the evidence so far, the answer is the latter. Mr. Trump's offer of extended legal status for young adults brought to the U.S. illegally as children, as well as to Central Americans and others with expiring visas, would provide relief against deportation for hundreds of thousands. Isn't this something Democrats want, or at least profess to? Democrats have sent millions. Have sent 1 million press releases claiming to care about Dreamers, Haitians, and those fleeing violence in El Salvador, Guatemala, Nicaragua. If it's true, Mr. Trump has held out his offer before, only to be rejected, or only to withdraw his offer. But here's a new chance to get Mr. Trump's signature on a legislative fix, at least for some years, without relying on the vagaries of courts and executive orders. This is exactly what I was saying the other day. So you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, where they don't care. And they offered money, but the money would be doled out over 10 years and lacks most of the limits Trump is seeking on legal immigration. So there you go. There you go. They're a bunch of hypocrites, and they only care about political power, which is why I didn't think people were stupid enough. But you know what? When you're constantly fed a stream of nonsense, constantly shown that Trump this, Trump that. Oh my God, there's a unknown person in Trump's inner circle protecting the country. from all the horrible things. Meanwhile, there's more jobs created in 2 years of Trump than the first 2 years of President Obama, or even the last 2 years of President Obama. You have 400,000 manufacturing jobs created. You have record low unemployment among Black and Latino citizens. You have all of these amazing things taking place with Trump's economy. And let's see, if you look at 10 times that of President Obama's last 21 months. Of note, in the 21 months since his inauguration, President Trump's deregulation policies and historic tax cuts have led to a manufacturing resurgence with 396,000 jobs added. In fact, the pace of manufacturing job growth over the past 21 months of President Trump's leadership is more than 10 times that of Obama's last 21 months. Investors.com. And then fact check. In fact, there has been a net loss of 303 manufacturing jobs since manufacturing. So this is since the 8 years of Obama, a net loss of 303 manufacturing jobs. A net loss. And in 8 years, you had 11.3 million jobs created. In just 2 years, you have almost 4 million jobs created under Trump. In just 2 years. In 8 years, you possibly have 16 million jobs created, which would far outpace 11.3 million of Obama. And you have a growing economy, more jobs. So, like, how is this guy? Why would they want to impeach him? They just hate his personality. That's it. That's all they care about, is personality and image. They just care about that. That's all they care about. That is all they care about. Tina Bobina watched Bongino earlier at your advisement. It's all coming together. If you can follow the names, dates, events, subject change. Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure. Dan Bongino is awesome. Dan Bongino is awesome. I love Dan Bongino. I think he's great. He's awesome. That whole thing, look, once William Barr is confirmed, I believe he'll be confirmed either when is Barr's confirmation? In a couple of weeks or beginning of February, or will Barr be confirmed as AG? Gosh. Okay, so a confirmation hearing, of course, happened, but I can't find when he's actually going to be confirmed. The interesting thing about the Barr confirmation was that Democrats were almost afraid they didn't want to pull a Kavanaugh. They couldn't pull a Kavanaugh because they know that he has a great deal of power in terms of being Attorney General. But let's see. Let's continue. We'll get to Barr in a second. But let's continue. In return, Mr. Trump wants money for border security in his wall, but political compromise means both sides get something. The wall may be a poisonous word for Democrats, but they're hypocrites. They don't care about a fence. They voted for a fence. But the president has already walked back his original demands. He's now talking about steel barrier at high priority locations. So not across all 2,000 miles, but but you have bodies of water and not all 2,000 miles. You can't build a wall on all 2,000 miles. And the steel slats are actually better than a concrete structure, much better. So a fence of some kind already exists. Well, across 700 miles or so, the administration is building another 115, and Trump wants to build another 230. So they don't care. They don't care. They just want to hurt Trump politically. That's all it's been about. It has never been about Medicare for all. It has never been about a pathway to citizenship. It has never been about any signature legislation or morality. The morality police deceive voters and deceive people who watch these wonderful pundits. And then what happens? Oh, well, let's forget about Medicare for all legislation. Let's forget about comprehensive immigration reform. Let's forget about, what about abolishing ICE? Gee, we forgot that, didn't we? We forgot all about that, didn't we? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez voted her first vote. I believe her first vote was to fund Homeland Security. And ICE is a part of Homeland Security. So there you go with that. So no abolish ICE. Oh, what about the green economy? Oh, yeah, well, we talked about she mentioned it on a show, the top marginal tax rate of 10, taxing people over 10 million at 70%. You think Pelosi is going to go with that? You think she wants to be taxed at 70%? How did Pelosi make all her money? Just the same way Clinton, although probably less illegal behavior. You have wealthy, powerful people who are leaders in the Democratic Party. They cheated Bernie Sanders. They fabricated a Trump-Russia myth with Peter Strzok and Comey and Brennan and Clapper and all the. It's just this circle of deception. The left is really a circle of deception. They get certain people to talk about euphemisms, and they get certain people to talk about these lofty policy objectives, and they get certain people to just forget about Bernie being cheated. Then they get Bernie Sanders to forget what happened to him and to just play along and to fabricate the myth that says that he was utilized to hurt Hillary Clinton. So it's like so Trump's offer has the benefit of testing Democratic sincerity. There you go. Democrats claim they won't negotiate while 25% of the government is shut down. That's ridiculous. Why would you? You won't negotiate. You won't negotiate. That's the one thing that Trump has. That's his leverage. Why on earth would he give up his leverage? Then Democrats will just be like, "Oh, okay, we got what we wanted. We're not going to negotiate with you anymore." BuzzFeed said something, and we'll wait until Mueller completely refutes it. And that's the thing. I mean, it's like, what have they accomplished? What have they accomplished thus far? What are they talking about? What are Democrats talking about? They're literally stalling on a pathway to citizenship. They don't want to help their voters. He offered 3-year protection, but earlier this year, he offered a pathway to citizenship for the for funding for the wall. They Democrats gave him $25 billion, but they didn't. But they said, oh well, they said, well, we'll give you $25 billion over 10 years. So he rejected that. He wanted the money. Obviously, look, I think he's going to go 8 years, but he could be out of office. I don't think he will, but in 2 years. So Democrats are like, well, here's the money for 10 years. Meanwhile, they fund every quagmire fully for the year. It's allocated within the budget. But if they were to come to the table and say, look, we want citizenship for this $5 billion, I think that he would grant partial or a certain amount of people citizenship. I really do. So I'm going to read you really quickly. This is Dr. Martin Luther King's Beyond Vietnam speech. This is something that most Democrats don't care about because their foreign policy, in my view, should be the number one focus of every voter. That's my number one focus, which is why I much rather have peace between North and South Korea than Obama's foreign policy with North Korea, which was the same as every other president. There was no chance for peace. I would much rather have Americans coming home from quagmires than sending Americans off to quagmires like Bush and Obama did, like Democrats advocate right now. Ever wonder why Democrats love Mattis so much? So Martin Luther King stated this: since I am a preacher by calling, I suppose it is not surprising that I have 7 major reasons for bringing Vietnam into the fold of my moral vision. This is at the outset a very obvious and almost facile connection between the war in Vietnam and the struggle I and others have been waging in America. A few years ago, there was a shining moment in that struggle. It seemed as if there was a real promise of hope for the poor, both black and white, through the poverty program. There were experiments, hopes, new beginnings. Then came the buildup in Vietnam, and I watched this program broken and eviscerated, as if it were some idle political plaything on a society gone mad on war. And I knew that America would never invest the necessary funds or energies in rehabilitation of its poor so long as adventures like Vietnam continue to draw men and skills and money like the demonic destructive like some demonic destructive suction tube. So I was increasingly compelled to see the war as an enemy of the poor and to attack it as such. So Democrats are also hilarious because they want to spend hundreds of billions every year, well over $100 billion every year. And I can go ahead through each theater of conflict, but I won't because it's against YouTube policies. Literally, if I mention certain countries too often, it's against YouTube policies. Not stated policies, but the algorithm. But $100 billion every year, well over 100. And Democrats are okay with that, but then they'll say, oh my God, look at Trump, look at this euphemism. But it's like, wait a second, you don't want to spend 100 billion. You don't want to spend 20 or 30 billion of that money to invest in job programs or incentives for corporations to move to inner cities or to move to places that are impoverished. Where's the incentive? Where's the program or government program or incentive to say, hey, listen, what about all the wonderful people at Silicon Valley? Why doesn't Facebook or Twitter move their headquarters to an impoverished city within the United States of America, and then hire people within the city, offer jobs, since they're the bastions of morality? Since they're so against Trump's policies, which, by the way, have helped more Americans than Obama's policies, especially economic policy. We have a better economy, much better economy. More people are working. We have record low unemployment. So, I mean, how are you going to say anything bad about Trump's economy other than if you were to nitpick and if you were to say, well, this isn't, the same problems, that would be the same issue that you could bring up, under Obama and Bush. The difference being Trump is presiding over a stronger economy than anything Bush or Obama had. So, but getting back to Martin Luther King's Beyond Vietnam speech, he was against quagmires. He was against never-ending war. Okay? He was against these things. Democrats are for these things. They must see Americans as strange liberators. The Vietnamese people proclaimed their own independence in 1954 and 1945, rather than a combined French-Japanese occupation before the Communist Revolution in China. They were led by Ho Chi Minh. Even though they quoted the American Declaration of Independence in their own document of freedom, we refused to recognize them. But also, if you can actually, there were these Sigma war games before Vietnam that stated we could not win. We already knew. So Sigma war games, Vietnam. Sigma games were a series of classified high-level war games played in the Pentagon during the 60s. And they stated we could not win. The Sigma 62, 64, and 65. So from 1964 to 1972, we were in Vietnam. Well, actually before 1964 also, but the Gulf of Tonkin was 1964. Yet another intelligence failure, quote unquote intelligence. But you think Max Boot cares about this, or Hillary Clinton, or they just want to utilize anything they can for image, purely for image. Rooster Cogburn, hi HE, long time no see. Business has been amazing in the medical tech industry, so I've been very busy the last few months. Awesome. Congrats, Rooster Cogburn. Awesome. Anyway, thanks for all you do. Keep spreading the truth, brother. MAGA, Trump 2020, build the wall. Absolutely, Rooster Cogburn. Thank you so very, very much. And Happy New Year to you, and fantastic news. I'm glad your business is doing great, and thank you for always watching. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a good year. It's going to be a very good year. And Trump 2020, I mean, my God, can you imagine how wonderful it'll be when Trump wins a second term? And I do think that, look, I think that it's going to come down to who his opponent is, but it's also going to come down to what William Barr does. William Barr has to flip the script. There has to be an investigation, a public investigation into Clinton's crimes. There has to be. And I think that's one prerequisite to winning. Unless it's Beto O'Rourke, and then really nothing needs to happen, and Trump could just cruise into winning. The only change came from America as we increased our troop commitments in support of governments which were singularly corrupt, inept, and without popular support. That we're still doing that to an extent. Martin Luther King, that's why I left Twitter, because on Twitter they're focused on the most ridiculous things, the most absurd things. But anyway, the only change came from America as we increased our troop commitments in support of governments which were singularly corrupt, inept, and without popular support. All the while, the people read our leaflets and received the regular promises of peace and democracy and land reform. So he was right, 100% right in 1967 regarding that, regarding what he stated. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Beyond Vietnam speech. Look it up. The Beyond Vietnam speech refutes and undermines the Democratic Party's foreign policy. The Democratic Party is the party of interventionist foreign policy and quagmires, not Trump. Now, Republicans, the establishment Republicans might, it's true. But Trump isn't an establishment Republican. Paul Ryan did everything possible to hurt Trump. So it's like without Twitter, Democrats really have no message. Because if you didn't like, my channel is increasing in subscribers. After I left Twitter, I did better in terms of subscribers. After I left Facebook and Twitter, I deleted my Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Minds. I only have BitChute. So the BitChute and my YouTube channel, and then my books, and then I'm starting a website that I'm slowly working on. It's taking a little while. But there's no reason, really, I mean, there's no reason, unless you are actually speaking, or unless you have friends who are on Twitter and you communicate with them, there's really no reason to be on Twitter, especially if you're a Trump supporter. Because Twitter is, well, I guess if you like Twitter, if you like that kind of combative, or if you like that exchange of news and you're not really arguing with people or you ignore people, good. For me, I found it difficult to ignore the haters. So I would always have to, like, if somebody challenged me, always have to, write back and, give my 2 cents. Then when they suspended me for 7 days, I was like, what? What? Are you kidding me? Meanwhile, they don't suspend other people for doing worse. But that's the way Twitter is. So I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. And then I had like a whole bunch of messages. My last, I guess, diatribe on Twitter before I left. My last will and testament on Twitter, I guess. But I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be really, really borderline dangerous on social media during the election, during the 2020 election, because you're going to have, and who knows what's going to happen in the Democratic Party, because you're going to have, it'll be 4 years. Like, we'll start election season this summer, ladies and gentlemen, because election 2016 started the summer of 2015. That's when all my writing went viral in the Hill, the Huffington Post, and Salon. Whenever you typed in Bernie Sanders, like, oftentimes on Google, you would see one of my articles almost every day. And the top trending article on Bernie. I was the only person who wrote viral articles that stated Bernie could win and that Bernie was going to win. And he would have won. Thank God Trump won. He would have won the Democratic primary and the presidency if Democrats didn't cheat him. I'm thankful. I thank God that Trump won, because Bernie would have been just a tool, even more so the Democratic Party than he is now. I hate to say it, but it's true. It's true. Eric S. Lunderstadt, hello, and thank you as always for watching from day one, and Happy New Year to you. Eric S. Lunderstadt, Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you for always watching. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Rooster Cogburn, thank you. And Pelosi's Dreamer Pawns, it ends with this. Now the Democrats have another chance with Mr. Trump. Will they take it? They may want to hold out until the Supreme Court rules, but I mean, why would they hold out? That hurts their constituents. Democrats should strike a deal now with the president. Now that the president is willing, because if they lose out on a deal and he just says, well, you know what, I'm going to talk about a national emergency, or I'm going to call a national emergency and use the Department of Defense funding, they get nothing. So, of course, New York Magazine, Dreamers are my hostages. No, Dreamers are the hostages of the Democratic Party. The Democrats are supposed to negotiate for citizenship, not Trump. Trump wants his wall. He's willing to give citizenship eventually. So negotiate, Democrats. Negotiate. Help your constituents for once, instead of demanding blind loyalty and obedience. Check out, ladies and gentlemen, my definitely check out my section on here where it's let's see, my community section. We are almost at 131,000 subscribers, ladies and gentlemen. We're at 130,985. We're almost there, ladies and gentlemen. So we are almost there. Let's get to 131,000. But when will Pelosi negotiate with Trump? I have a poll. One choice is never. The other choice is only when Hillary Clinton is viewed as trustworthy and honest. So that's funny. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. I also have my HA Second Amendment. Dan Campbell! Diatribe regarding diatribe. Good HA, you're entitled. Dan. I opened an account the other day to support Tulsi, and right away they claimed I was a bot and demanded my phone number. Oh my God. Thank you, Dan. Oh, that's true. They want your phone number. Yeah, that's true. And they keep asking you too, which is annoying. Like, is this your phone number? Is this your phone number? And they would ask this like, I had my Twitter account for years, and they're like, tell us your phone number again. Tell us your phone number again. It's, you know what, Dan Campbell, you're 100% right. Hey, and Tulsi is, I love Tulsi Gabbard. I think that 2024, she could definitely win if Democrats support her, she's too independent. She's too honest. She is not an interventionist. She wants to bring home Americans from quagmires. So that's everything Democrats don't like. But thank you, Dan Campbell. Thank you for your support. And you made the right call. And I appreciate your support on my Twitter diatribe. Yeah, I agree with you, Dan. Twitter was like so bizarre. This one guy tried to threaten me. Numerous people tried to threaten me, but this one guy tried to threaten me, and I actually filed a police report, if you could believe this, check this out, I used the guy's Twitter profile. There is a police report the LAPD has for this guy's Twitter profile with the screenshots, because I emailed the police officer and the police department they gave me the email. So I have all the screenshots of his threat, and the police were like, yeah, go ahead, and there's enough here to write a report. I wrote the report, gave it to Twitter. They're like, well, we'll look into it. And that's it. Meanwhile, like, you have the most overt, egregious things done and said by the left. And I was on the left, by the way, at this point. I was still on the left, by the way. I literally had a police report from one of the using, and it was like, well, we'll look into it. Lupe Stella, hello. And then when it's like anyone who is a Republican or just not like, Tulsi Gabbard, on the left, but still like an independent thinker, definitely a Trump supporter. I'm talking about like definitely like Trump supporters as well. They fall into this category. Twitter is like you say one thing. I hear you. Most Democrats are not there. They are dishonest. I agree with you on that. I know. But you say one thing wrong, and then Twitter and social media is like, oh, we have to ban you. Oh, this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Because the algorithm is meant to, like, if you say certain words that are not vile by definition, but if those words fall into the algorithm, then that's it. And a conservative would be more likely to say certain words that aren't vile. They're just words than a Democrat. So their national flag surrender. So, ladies and gentlemen, definitely check out my latest segment on HA Second Amendment. It is right here. Just click on 1811, and you can get the grouping. I thought it was a good grouping. I think it is quite a good grouping. I mean, with a 44 Magnum at 20 feet away, and it's not like I'm trying all different firearms like every single day or every other day. I'm doing a different one. So, So definitely check that one out. It's right here. I'll send it again. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. Thank you so very much. Dan, thank you to my super chat. Thank you. Rooster Cogburn. Rooster Cogburn. How did we get here? It used to be right versus left, an ideological battle, but it's turned into a battle of right versus wrong. Oh, yeah. Good versus evil. So bizarre. Absolutely. Rooster Cogburn, thank you. Well, this is how we got here. They cheated Bernie Sanders. President Trump won fair and square. Then they say that Russia cheated them. That's how we got here. The duplicity. And then they have social media. And they actually utilize social media to deceive their voters. So there's just too much criminal behavior. Then you have them nominating literally a criminal in Clinton. Literally a criminal. She transferred top secret intel outside and special access program intelligence outside the United States government. And Comey let her off the hook. They said, oh, she didn't mean to do it. Of course she meant to do it. Of course she meant to do it. Wingless Angel, we love you. Rooster Cogburn, thank you for your support. Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. I'll be here later today as well, numerous times. Have a great day, and I urge everyone to read Dr. Martin Luther King's Beyond Vietnam speech. It refutes and completely eviscerates the Democratic Party's current foreign policy, which is keep Americans abroad forever. And now we know why President Trump, his foreign policy, I'm willing to say definitely, whereas Dr. Martin Luther King would not like aspects of Trump's policies, of course, his foreign policy, but he would like Trump's foreign policy more so than the Democratic Party's foreign policy of keeping Americans abroad in never-ending quagmires. Just look at the Beyond Vietnam speech. And he would also support peace between North and South Korea, which is taking place under Trump. Give me your thoughts. Thank you so very much. Happy Monday, and I'll talk to you later. Thank you.